I know, I'm a little bit late with this video, but today we're gonna do the top 10 Ikoria cards. I promised that I was gonna do some more Ikoria spoilers, and the thing is, I didn't want to do like all the remaining cards. A lot of them were not like super interesting, like commons and stuff like that. That's the first thing, and also that video's gonna be like 5 hours, and nobody's gonna want to sit through that, I think. So instead, I'm gonna go straight to the most relevant cards. There's going to be, I think, 1 or 2 cards that I've talked about before, but yeah. That's just how it is. So I didn't want to include, to not make the list too repetitious, I didn't want to include like all the ultimatums and all the lands and stuff like that. Like, it wouldn't be fun if the list was like 6 lands or something like that. There's only gonna be 1 land on the list. So let's just jump into the first card here. Inspired Ultimatum, double blue, triple red, double white. Target player gains 5 life, Inspired Ultimatum deals 5 damage to any target, and you draw 5 cards. This card just seems amazing in every way. The thing is, it slots perfectly into Fire, as I mentioned. It has the correct colors. That's one of the reasons why I went with this ultimatum. I think there's maybe 1 more ultimatum on the list, when I think about it, over some others. Correct colors. It's always gonna be good. It's always good to draw 5 cards. Dealing 5 damage is the perfect amount of damage to deal, because most planeswalkers, after they plussed, has 5 loyalty. So if your opponent has a very time leveler, if they have a Narset, which they for some reason didn't use, it's gonna have 5 loyalty. A lot of planeswalkers go up to 5 loyalty, so 5 is it's a very good amount of damage to deal. Gaining 5 life, of course, is amazing. There's a lot of mono red if you get to that stage of the game. I mean, this is probably not gonna be super good against mono red, because you're probably not gonna have that much ramp, because in these colors you usually need green to have good ramp with this. But I think this card is gonna be very solid. It's gonna slot perfectly into any blue-white deck that's fine with splashing a little bit red. You can go, you can also have this in the sideboard if you don't want to have it in your main deck. You can just go Fey Wishes for the Inspired Ultimatum in your sideboard and play it. If you have Fires of Revenge, you probably want Fey Wishes anyways. So yeah, this seems super duper strong, and I would be, I mean, it is gonna see play. There's like no chance of this not seeing play. Next card. This is a card which, yes, seems a little bit weird, but let me explain. Okay. Kihara, the Orphan Guard. 1 colorless, then 1 green/white, 1 green/white. Companion. Each creature card in your starting deck is a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast card. Vigilance. Each creature you control that's a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Why did you choose this card? Well, first of all, I think it's gonna be amazing in older formats, but now we're talking about standard. So the reason I chose this is because the companion mechanic is so strong, and because companion essentially allows so many decks to run this for free. Like, I don't think that decks are gonna put this in, change the deck around to put in Kihara. Maybe if you're an elemental deck or something, you might do that. But most decks, like a blue-white control deck, for instance, you can easily see a blue-white control deck skipping playing creatures. Like, it's easy to not play any creatures, and then just have a Kihara in the sideboard, and then just have an 8th card in every hand, and that's just very, very strong. I feel like always having something that you can play, even though it's not super strong. It's just a 3/2 vigilance. It is strong that you always have it. That's why I put it on the list, and it's very non-restrictive compared to other companion decks. You usually have a very tight restriction, which most decks can't really work with. But this restriction is like nothing. Like, there's so many decks which don't run creatures, and you can just put it in. Like, a blue-white control deck could easily run without creatures. And just have Kihara. Why not? Why not have it there? So then, if you don't know the companion mechanic, what happens is that you can play it once per game from your sideboard. So you have 1 card less in your sideboard, which is a little bit bad, I guess. But if you're not playing best of 3, then it's probably not gonna matter too much, unless you have a Wish sideboard or something like that. So yeah, I think Kihara is gonna be really strong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about this one. Then Deluca, Coppercoat Outcast. Yeah, I pointed this out last time, but let's read them. 3 colorless and 2 red. Then it has 5 loyalty, and +1 is exile the top 3 cards of your library. Creature cards, exile this way, gain. You may cast this card from exile as long as you control Luca Planeswalker. Then -2, which is the important part of this card. Exile target creature you control, then reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then -7, each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So, the reason that Deluca is on this list is of course because Agent of Treachery, and it's so easy to get off. Either you not run no creatures and just -2, or you run some cheap creatures. Maybe you have a Paradise Druid, maybe you have, I don't know, whatever, honestly. But you can just get these things without even having any creatures in deck. You could have Birth of Meletis token, Callous Dismissal token. There's so many ways of just getting anything that you can sacrifice and just have 4 Agent Treacheries. Agent Treachery is good anyways in the deck. In a control deck, it's super duper strong. And then you can just plus and go for the ultimate, I guess. Or you could have some creatures in there. You could have a Paradise Druid, you could have a Fubbleuptham in your deck, and sometimes gonna hit with the Deluca plus. I think this is gonna be good because it's gonna ramp you so fast. It's very similar to Sorin, how it ramped the Vampire deck. This is gonna ramp the control deck, I feel like. You put this down and it immediately gets something that's way too strong at that curve. So it ramps you a little bit. And that, or not ramps, it accelerates you a little bit in what you can do. So, I think that card is gonna be really, really strong. That's why it's on the list. Next card is Luminous Bird. 2 colors and 2 white, flying. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. There's so much shenanigans you can do with this. I don't think that this is gonna slot in like every deck. It's gonna be like a new archetype of deck, which is like a Luminous Bird type deck, where you have a lot of sacrifice outlets and then they come back. Like if you have a Cat Oven deck, for instance, slots perfectly into that. Well, not perfectly maybe, but it kind of works in that. It's the wrong color also, I guess, but something like that. Something like aristocratic, like you want to just sacrifice your creatures and then they come back and they deal damage whenever they die or whenever they come into play or something like that. You just have a lot of those triggers, and then you trigger it by sacrificing them either through a Witch's Oven or through some other sacrifice outlet. There's a lot of sacrifice outlets, so I think this is gonna see play. It's also, there's one interesting interaction if you use this with what's a blue planeswalker? There's a blue planeswalker which can remove flying, for instance, from Luminous Bird. That's an interesting. I don't know if that's mostly cute or if that's gonna be played in some capacity, but that's another thing you can do with this. So that's why Luminous Bird is also on this list. Next card is it's a land. I mean, all these lands are gonna be good. This is probably one of the better ones because it's the control one, and it's the colors I often like to play. I mean, we can play Teferi with this, you can play Fire Convention, you can play anything. Of course, in older formats, is this gonna be broken? I don't know. It seems very strong in older formats. Like, have one of these. Sometimes you're gonna want to fetch all 3 colors. I mean, in older formats, of course, you have things such as Wasteland and cards like that can actually deal with these cards. But I mean, those Wasteland can also deal with anything. Can deal with the watery, not the watery grave. It's called Underworld Sea. Underworld Sea, is that Underworld Ocean? No, Underworld Sea is the way too long before since I played the Legacy last. Stuff like that. So I think this is gonna be strong in standard also. I mean, we have the tap lands now with Scry, but this just seems stronger than the Scry lands, honestly. If you run a 3-color deck, you just want this over the Scry land every time. Having cycling there also is a strong option. It's gonna be something to do in the late game. I wish the cycling was a little bit lower cost, but at the same time the card is so amazing. So definitely something. I mean, if you're gonna craft something, definitely craft these, because you're probably gonna get uses out of them for a very long time. I mean, as long as they're standard legal, and if you play this in paper, they're probably gonna be pretty valuable, I think, because they're gonna see play in older formats, in EDH, stuff like that. That's not, it's called EDH anymore, no? It's called Commander? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it's gonna see play everywhere. And it's probably gonna be quite expensive in a couple of years. That's what I think. So, next card is Ruinous Ultimatum. Common theme here. This ultimatum also has red, which goes well with Fire Convention. 3 white and 2 black. You don't need a Fire Convention with this, to be honest. I mean, that's true for all the ultimatum. You don't need to have it, but it's better if you have it. Just saying. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. Do I need to tell you that's very strong? There are, of course, permanents which are indestructible right now. Most notably, there's Thassa, and there's the white dude, whatever his name is. I don't remember what his name is. Me and names, right? So, I think it's gonna be super duper strong. I mean, I've even played the Planar Cleansing in a lot of decks and found that card to be super strong. That even destroys all of the cards on my side, and that's fine. So if it doesn't destroy the things on your side, and it just costs 1 more mana than Planetary Cleansing, then this has to be borderline brokenly good. I mean, if you get to a late game scenario where you resolve a Ruinous Ultimatum versus many decks, they're not gonna have anything. I mean, Cat Oven decks are just gone, and you get to keep everything you have. The colors are a little bit not what I wanted them to be, maybe. The red is fine, I guess. White is fine. I don't know if I wanted this to be black, really, but I mean, you can't have 2 ultimatums which contain blue, I guess so. But except for that, it's pretty amazing, and I would be surprised if this does not see play. Song of Creation, 4 manas, 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 red. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. That's pretty strong, but not broken, I wouldn't say. The next clause, though, is really, really strong. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. There's so many ways of getting this to just, draw infinite. As long as you have manas, you can draw. A lot of people have pointed out the interaction with adventures, because it's very easy to have a couple of adventure creatures in reserve, because at the end, of course, you need to discard after you play this, and then next turn you might just draw a land and then you're screwed. But if you have a lot of adventure creatures, you can play that creatures from exile, and then you can draw those cards and just keep going, and dig through the deck and just destroy your opponent, essentially. It's also the correct colors for ramp, which is very good. You can put in Uro, you can have all those rampy cards, so you can do more things and more things and more things and more things. Also the correct colors for if you want to go with Jace, so they can win by milling yourself, because that might actually be a good way of winning with this deck, because you can draw so many cards. Also, that the fact that you can play an additional land on each of your turns is very strong. Synergizes very, very well with the card itself. So yeah, escape cards, adventure cards. What else is gonna be super good with this? You could play this with Fire Subvention, so that you immediately can play something after. I mean, I always bring up Fire Subvention, but the thing is that this kind of doesn't like Fire Subvention in one way, because you want to play a lot of cards with Song of Creation. So that's why I think that the adventure escape route is probably the strongest. But it might work with some kind of Fire, some Teferi, Time Twist, something janky, we'll see. But definitely someone is gonna break this card. It might even be so problematic that I need to ban it at some point. I don't know. Just looking at how strong of an ability this is, and usually how difficult it is to get rid of enchantments. I mean, we have Elspeth Conqueror's Death now in standard, so there's always one way of answering this, I guess. But that's, if you're a little bit ahead on curve, which you probably you're gonna be since you're playing these colors, you might get this down before your opponent has enough mana to even play a good enchantment removal. So yeah, this card is looking dangerous. Next card is Vadruk, Apex of Thunder. My pick for the best mutate card. I mean, probably most people would say that this is the best mutate card. I don't think that there's much doubt about it. The thing is, it's correct colors, and the ability is very strong. We're gonna read the card first. 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white, and then mutate 1 colorless, then blue or white, and then double red. Flying first strike, it's a 3/3. It's an elemental dinosaur cat. Cat? It's a cat? Where is it a cat? Doesn't even have a tail. Okay, sure. Whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from a graveyard without paying its mana cost. That's just so strong. The mutate thing is... The thing is that the mutate mechanic is very strong, because even if you mutate on something and that something goes away, which is usually the problem in all these aura things, you get it into play. So it doesn't matter. It's I think it's Bestow, was that the same thing? I don't remember. But it's very strong that that doesn't matter. And also, if someone bounces, for instance, someone plays Teferi Time Raveler, ever heard of that card? Someone plays Teferi Time Raveler and bounces Vadruk, or the creature that Vadruk is on, you also get Vadruk back. So, and then you get more activations and more activations of Vadruk from your graveyard again and again and again. And this works perfect with everything. I mean, Birth of Melody is always going to be, or very soon going to be, in your graveyard. It also produces a token, which worst case you could put Vadruk on, And then sure, it's gonna be a flying defender first strike, but that's fine. And you're also gonna be able to play that from the graveyard. You can play Teferi Time from the graveyard, you can play Narset from the graveyard. Essentially everything that's good you can play from the graveyard. And it's the correct colors. Stats are decent, you could play it as a creature worst case. Yeah, I think that this card is gonna see a lot of play. It's probably gonna be the most expensive mythic. My opinion, probably gonna be the most expensive. I mean, the thing is, it slots so easily into blue-white control. And I see no reason why they would not, like, I'm gonna add it, so why wouldn't other people add it? I don't know. So, next card. Very similar, honestly, to the card we saw before, the enchantment. This is Whirlwind of Thought. It has 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. Another card which is just so bonkers! How can they print this? It's so easy to break. I just want to play this with 1000 Year Storm. 1000 Year Storm plus this, and just go off and just play non-creature spells and then finish them off with whatever, small, some Perforous Intervention or something. I think it's gonna be strong. I think this is gonna enable combo. There's so many decks which can just rely on Whirlwind of Thought. Just you can have it in the sideboard, find it with Fey Wishes, put it down, and just win. Essentially, I mean, if you have Whirlwind of Thought down, I don't see how the correct built deck would not just win when you have this down. Older formats also seems very likely that it's gonna break them, so probably something that can see bans in older format, maybe even in standard. I don't know, it seems like super dangerous. Have they really tested this card? I don't know. Just me? Okay, next card. Another controversial picker. The only uncommon also, I think, on the list. Bastion of Remembrance. 2 colorless and 1 black. When Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human solely creature token. And whenever a creature you control dies, each one loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I think that this is a very, very strong uncommon, honestly. And the thing is that in most cases, I think this is gonna be better than Ayora. Because the thing is, Ayora comes down and usually she just dies immediately. Like, usually Ayora doesn't do anything. But this is gonna come down, you're gonna have a 1/1, which is, oh no, a worse body than Ayora. But then, even though they kill that 1/1, you're gonna get that effect of... it's a little bit different, I guess. Ayora, you get the effect when something comes into play, and this is when something dies. But it's essentially the same, because you, in these archetypes of decks, in these aristocratic decks, where you just sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice and return the cat oven, all these effects which trigger... it doesn't matter if it triggers when you die or when it comes into play, because you're just gonna trigger again and again and again. And get a couple of Bastion of Remembrance down, and your cat ovens are gonna get so dangerous. Like, imagine just having 2 Bastions, 2 ovens, and a cat. That's insane. That's like 4 damage every turn. Plus you have your soldier, of course, that you get from this, so you have a little bit of defense on top of this. And then add on top of that, if you could get the Mayhem Devils and everything, you're gonna burn your opponent down so fast with this card. Sure, that's why it's there. Honestly, that's why it's there. And then we're back to Inspired Ultimatum. That's my top 10 cards, so it's actually a little bit faster than I thought it would be. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think are gonna be the best cards. Of course, I left some really strong cards out. Honorable mentions, like all the ultimatums, of course, all the other lands. There were a lot of really strong rares with strong effects. There were some decent mutant cards, but like maybe they're gonna be strong, not so like obvious that they're gonna break anything. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Member shout out. Member shout out. Thank you everyone so much for watching. And a special thank you, of course, to our members, our disciples, our dark disciples of the Underworld, arriving here. Oh, here they are. Here they are. Thank you so much. To Adam Alexis, Simon Lauer, Rodney Cox, Herman Monster, The Soft Pillow, Shamanix, Alex Michael, Nathaniel Nissen, Laser Setastan, Eric0234, Jeff Henry, Lean Rintet, Michael W, Matthias Pauli, Topless Investments, W Lutz 1978, Peter Gold, Sean Stevens, Gabriel Juvenal, Q the Lady 23, Way Mesamok 1, You Old Bassis, Dingo Scrub, Crew the Barbarian, Rainbird 2002, July Moonlight Start, Rakers 2000, Jurassic Fort, Eric Parson, Rage Notch, Badass Ivanab, John Domian, Gesusaki, Own77, Sam Williamson, Ellie Curtis, Noah BH, MC Hermes, Fumiyaki, Kinoshita, JCap, Viral Thing, Steve Draminski, Strange Brontide, Sky Surfer Zero, Tim Dutton, Jake Denley, Sonta John, The McDuncan, Relgan, Chase Closed, John Lacaba, III, Honza Koss, Agony Reborn, Ramen Noodles for Me, Netherbex, Andrew Blank, Mr. Thule, Musketeer, Mythic Gaming, Link is Weak, Tom Cute, Michael Robert Lewis, Yomasaho, Name the Epithet, Dear Lurgarth, Dimlit Knight, Stricker Mike, Postal Guru, Anthony Dibble, Mentosaurus, Michael Cupido, Chuan To Ying, Vincent Baudet, Paul Robert Miller, Anthony Nixon, Ninja Astral, Coop the Grace, Optimus Prime, Chuckles M, Virus Dingus, Dan McSharp, 2 Cents, Pocky U, Acros Ascending, Kitty Bum Lover, Silly Boy, Magic Pistol Man, Seppi 1310, Martin Newman, Katrin Leuchtgelb, John LaRoche, That's Mr. God to You, Eventum Tantum, Matthew Goggins, DBK Drummer, Freeman Stepson, Adam Alexis, Dan Goodsell, Aaron Noble, Drew Styles, Potty, Serge Karamaro, Brenton Dobbs, Bitsuma, Rainbow Cake, Piotr Stalorch, Super Noodle 7, Dr. Jadron, Infinite Draw, Neo Terror Ninja Long Gnome, Javier Diaz, Jack Wren, Adam Ruth, Rhett Khan, Barbara McKinley, Liquid E, Big Bob, MTG, Butt with Ass, Patrick Hennig, Ruffino, A. Ergon, 7 Guy 777, Forsaken AA, Trumman, Thomas Schutte, Nesmoth, Thanatos, Right in the G-Hole, Foxy Grandpa, Fereshkan, The G-Man, Martin Newman, Jake Palmer, Verokta, Simon Fairley, Daniel Williams, Draco Smith, Zabor, and Jellybean. You guys are amazing. And if you also want to become a Dark Disciple like these guys, help rule the Underworld, then check out the join button next to the subscribe button, and why not check out my Patreon, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Also a special thank you to our bad shoulders on Patreon. Thank you!